thanks everyone for joining us for this evening's program about Letters from a Healing Heart. We have an author visit with Chanelle McCloud. Chanelle spent more than a decade in the classroom and an additional 5 years in other educational settings. She uses that experience to inspire educators through professional development from a teacher's perspective. Chanelle's accolades include, but are not limited to, a bachelor's degree from Kent State University and a master's of education from Notre Dame College. She's a two-time Who's Who in Black Cleveland Award recipient and adjunct professor at Ashland University. Chanelle is currently working toward attaining her doctorate in education. So I've known Chanelle for a few years, and I can tell you that she wears many hats. But the constant through all of her work is that she wants to help people reach their goals and to live a better life. She develops and provides youth workshops. She coaches and consults. She provides inspiring keynotes and talks. And now Chanelle is also an author. She released her first book, which you see there on the screen, Letters from a Healing Heart, in June of 2019, which is the topic of this evening's program. So just a little bit of housekeeping. Here's a plan for the evening. Chanelle will do an introduction, and then she'll read an excerpt from her book, and then we'll open the floor for questions. If you have questions, you can always feel free to type them into the chat window. And then the last little bit we'll do is cover how you can get Chanelle's book or stay in contact for future workshops. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Chanelle.
All right. Thank you so much, Carla, for inviting me. Thank you, everybody who's here today. And thank you for everybody who might be watching. I am so honored and grateful to have an opportunity to talk about healing, especially right now in our country, in our world, with so much going on. We have an opportunity, I believe, to be in a somewhat of a solitude, an opportunity for reflection, and an opportunity for us to think about and move toward our healing. When I wrote Letters from a Healing Heart, it took me a while to do so, but I knew that writing had always been something very powerful to me. I've been writing since I was a teen. And the first time that I wrote in a way that was really from my heart and my soul was when my grandfather died. And I was a teenager, I was 13. And I didn't know what to do with those emotions. I didn't know what to do with those feelings. And I began to write. And I wrote a poem. And that poem really helped me to get through those emotions, to digest those emotions in a way that helped me to feel better, understood, and relieved. So I always knew that writing was a powerful tool for me. And I had written in journals for a long time. But there came a point that I was like, I need to write a book about how I've used writing as a form of my healing, because I honestly 100% believe that everybody has a profound greatness in them. And sometimes we don't move forward towards our greatest self because there's a place in our heart or places where we still need to heal. And I know that because that was me. I'm going to recite a poem for you that kind of describes, in a way, where I was before I wrote this book and how I began to reflect and think about moving forward. Before I say that poem, I want to share with you this quote. Be brave to heal yourself even when it hurts. Because not all the time Is healing going to be an easy process? It may hurt some, but you can be brave and get through it and begin your healing. This poem is called Rebuilt. I wear it like my complexion, a cocoa brown hue that has a deeper story, written all over me like the mirror's reflection. She is my guilt. She is my glory. For who would I be without her imposing on my every decision? A misty fog distorting my vision of who I could really be if I hadn't let guilt be my guide. Guilt built me, brick by brick and stone by stone. I've been built and rebuilt again, and still I made guilt my home. Decorated with despair. And look, I think I'll place my self-pity right over there. As I sit here, and it stings and it burns like uncried tears, and I realize that I haven't lived a day without guilt in years. There's nothing about me that my guilt doesn't know. She listens so cunningly and hangs on to my every word. How could I let her go? Maybe forgiveness will be the wrecking ball that tears her down, leaving her powerless, just powder on the ground, blown away by the winds of absolution. But see, it's not so easy to forgive this. I've lived this. Decades of guilt don't just wash away. I need to soak my soul in mercy to release this guilty stain, to relieve this patient pain. Maybe I will rebuild yet again, but this time with forgiveness. And I'll paint the walls a shade of redemption. I will forgive forever and finally. And the first one on the list will be me. That poem kind of, thank you. It starts or explains the process. The first one on the list will be me. And I realized for me to begin my healing, that I had to go back to very painful places and write about how I felt and write about ways for myself to forgive myself and grow myself. Because sometimes we can get stuck in that place of pain if we don't allow ourselves to heal. And, you know, in our society, there's such a stigma. It's getting better, but there is a stigma about getting help for your mental and emotional wellness. But I really believe, you know, it's like if your leg had been broken and you never got it set, you would walk differently. And the same with your healing heart. There's things that can happen to you that if you never really went in there, took care of it, nurtured it, wrapped it in cloth and soothed it, that is still not the way that it could be in its best self. Healing doesn't mean that the damage never existed. It means the damage no longer controls our lives. And that's what I was seeking in this book, that I would write these letters, and each letter is to a different person in my life. I have a letter to myself. I have a letter to my readers. I have a letter to God. I have a letter to my older self. because I just felt like these are some opportunities for me to stitch up those places that I know that were in need of healing. So I'm going to share with you a couple of the letters. So this is the book, Letters from a Healing Heart. And the first letter I'm going to share with you is called Dear Baby Girl. For many years when I saw you, I would cringe. I can't lie. That the sight of you would bring me embarrassment and an uncomfortable, hilarious pain. I laughed only to pretend that I was not loving you, but I still was hurting each time I would see pictures of you, which were also photographs of 7 or 8-year-old me. Fat, black, and ugly were adjectives that I heard from mean kids in the neighborhood, not often, but often enough to leave a scar. But the fact that I believed it was what left the wound. And the reason why I believed it is why it still hurts sometimes today, just a little. Like the pain people say they feel in an old injury when a storm is on the way. But it wasn't true. So I want to tell you who you really are. You are a beautiful, talented, caring, sweet, and thoughtful cocoa complexion princess. You are a gorgeous brown-eyed baby girl. I need you to know how amazing you are right now in this moment. I need you to understand whose you are. Your creator placed each star in the sky, blew the winds in the air, wet the water, made the moon, and made you. I need you to understand that you have been given so many gifts to share with the world. You are worthy of these gifts. Don't be afraid to use them in the way God meant for you to use them. Know that you are loved more than you could imagine by the creator of the universe. This is not only the love that you will want, but this is the only love that you will need. In fully recognizing how much God loves you, you will learn that you are worthy of true love and you are a beautiful gift. I know that learning to love yourself fully and completely won't be simple because of what you've been through. But I need to tell you now that none of it was your fault. Release yourself from shame, guilt, and any feelings of inadequacy because you are an innocent, beautiful child. I hope that as you read these words, you can begin to mend. For your broken heart deserves to be healed, and your beautiful soul is worthy of love from others, but most importantly, worthy of love from you. Love always, you, 32 years later. So when I wrote that, I had to go back to the little girl in me that still had those insecurities. And for many people, they've always saw me as a very confident and inspired person, which I am. However, I believe that everyone has certain things that maybe they've gone through in their life that may still bring them some hurt or make them behave and make decisions that sometimes they don't understand. And I began to seek what was really happening with me. And when I went to therapy, I had an opportunity to talk about the fact that when I was a little girl, I had been molested by an older cousin. And for years, I just felt like it was my fault. And why didn't I stop it? Why didn't I say, no, leave me alone? Why couldn't I? Why did it happen to me? And there's so many questions. And I lived with a lot of shame and guilt and those type of feelings for a long time until I allowed myself to go back and tell that little girl that it wasn't her fault and that she's not what she believes she is because of what happened to her. So that brings me to my next letter. This one is called Dear Shame. Dear Shame, I believe you cause diseases in the body and disrupt the mind and spirit in an abominable way. So I'm calling you out and I'm letting the world see you for who you are, a toxic and unwanted emotion that keeps people from acknowledging their wholeness. Shame. You have made me feel diminished, unworthy of my true and ultimate greatness. But I can't blame you completely. It was me who gave you the power. I told you that it was because of you that I wasn't enough, nor would I ever be enough. I tried to wash you away and treat you with medicines, but the remedy for you lies in acknowledging who you really are. Shame, you are akin to fear, another deceitful feeling in pursuit to demean one's spirit and power. You lie and tell people that because of what they have gone through, what they may have done, who they may have loved, what they may have or what they may not have, that they are less deserving of love, honor, kindness, joy, freedom, peace, and abundance. That's a lie. I'm calling you out and I'm telling each person who may hold you to high standard that they can release you into the wind and watch you carry away by the grace and mercy of God. For in it all and through it all, I have learned that my identity is not defined by my circumstances in life and learning. I am God's child, and so are all of us that you have bound. So there you have it. The truth about who you are and where your power lies, only in the mind of one who believes they are sentenced to a life living with you. For anyone who chooses to be honest, to learn, to get help, to rehabilitate, to seek therapy, to ask for forgiveness, to be forgiven, to do better, to be better, may relinquish you and be free to receive all the blessings God has in store. As for me, I'm so done with you. You have done me no good and stunted my growth. I will, from now on, accept my past and everything I have experienced as a means to relate and connect to humanity as we heal. You don't serve me, nor do you define or any part of me or who I am. By Shameless Chanelle. So those are kind of two that kind of gives you an idea of the things that I had to do or the words that I had to say to give myself permission to heal. I think that that's a big part of healing. For one, we have to give ourselves permission to heal and permission to feel. Because we don't want, for many years, I didn't want to feel those things, not realizing that that pain and that uncomfortable feeling was like a warning. It was like, hey, I'm here. You need to take care of me. Think about your body, you know? When you feel a pain, if you just ignore it, it continues to do harm, you know? It continues to hurt you. And that's the same emotionally and mentally. If those things continue to hurt you and you just ignore it, it's still, the problem is still there. So I had to give myself permission to heal and permission to feel. Now, does anybody have any discussion questions? I would love to talk to you.
I really liked the idea that forgiveness is a forge. Forgiveness is a hammer. That image that's so strong, that stuck with me from that first reading.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe that, you know, forgiveness is a powerful tool, but a lot of times, as that writing says, for us to really progress and for us to really grow and develop, we have to forgive ourselves. You know, there's things that we maybe wish we had done or wish we hadn't done, or maybe there's opportunities, or there's so much that we hold on to. And those things can really stunt your growth. It's like a weight, you know, like a heavy weight. You just carrying it around. And there's this song by Erykah Badu. She's a neo soul artist and it's called Bag Lady. And it's like, bag lady, you gon' hurt yourself. You know, it's like you just carrying these bags around. You got all of this stuff. And you know, the older you get, you got more stuff. You know, you keep collecting stuff and you're just carrying it. And you're wondering why it's hard to fly. You're wondering why.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dolores. Go ahead.
That's okay. Why your heart is blocked. Yes, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're fine. What were you going to say?
My students at Central called me the bag lady.
Oh, okay. Because you had a lot of papers.
I had a bag for every school I went to and every teacher I went to. If I was going to a science class, I had a different bag. If I was going to an English class, I had a different bag.
Yeah. And think about this.
And they noticed that.
Yeah.
They noticed that.
But you have physical bags. Some people have emotional, mental bags from different relationships. Parent, you know, relationships with their parents, relationships with maybe current spouses or ex-spouses, or relationships with their children, or, I mean, relationships with themselves. They have these bags. And they're carrying them around and they want to be successful. And one thing that I noticed about myself, and again, kind of what possibly brought me to the point where I said, you know, I really need to delve into why I'm having these patterns, was because of the relationships I was choosing. You know, sometimes those patterns in your life is because I read a quote and they said, because you haven't learned it yet. You haven't learned whatever that is. It keeps coming around like, why does this keep happening? Why do I keep choosing the same type of guy? Or why this? Or because you haven't learned that lesson yet. And so I just got to a point where I wanted to learn and I wanted to heal. And it was tough. It was tough. You know, I've cried some of my biggest cries during that time of trying to really go back and heal that little girl so that I could be the person that I am today. And, you know, but it was so worth it. And that's why I want to promote healing to everybody, because I believe deeply in my heart that if you can move past, heal and move past those things that have been kind of blocking you and stunning your growth and your thoughts, because if you feel like you're not good enough, you're not worthy, then there's so many things that you're not going to do or pursue or receive, you know?
Yes.
Because you don't feel like it couldn't be for me, you know? And I had that experience, but I believe greatly that everybody has a magnificent, wonderful purpose. And if we can heal those places, then we can move forward to our greatness. Yes. Does anybody else have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
As you look over it and you review what you've written or you
Yes.
read what you've written, do you find yourself reliving any of the trauma, or is it simply a release for you?
That's a great question. When I was first writing it, it was hard. When I first was writing letters, I talked to Dolores about this earlier. But when I first was writing letters, it would take me like months to write one letter.
Wow.
Because it would be tough to be face to face with that pain again and those feelings. And because I wanted to be honest and authentic. So it was like, I got to say what I'm feeling for real, and being back in touch with those feelings really was like, it would shake me, you know, it would shake me. The one specific letter that I have in here to the person that I was touched inappropriately by as a child, that letter was the hardest letter for me to write, because I have never written that letter before. I avoid that thought. I avoid that.
Library is now closed. Thank you.
Confrontation, you know, of what that conversation might be like. But this kind of gave me, even though it's published, but it kind of gave me at least a start of a safe place. But it was tough. But now when I read certain, there's certain letters that I probably wouldn't read aloud in a public place or public setting, because I don't know how I would feel about that. But certain letters, I feel like, you know what, I can handle reading these aloud, and I feel okay. And I feel like that those places in me are, you know, maybe a scar there, but I'm good. You know, I'm so much better. Yes. Anybody else?
I know I grew up in the projects, and I was given many messages. We were first of all called the Project Brats by our teachers. And in some respects, it was disrespectful. They didn't think much of us. But at the end, by the time I was in 8th grade, I realized I owned that image, the Project Brats, and I was tougher. So that made me tough. And it helped me to heal from that hurt of you know, being looked down on because I lived in the projects, which is now the Gardell Golf Course.
you redefine yourself. I think that is powerful, because a lot of times we let people define us. We let people tell us who we are, what our worth is. For some of our students and the kids that we work with, and even adults, you can see it in their behavior, their insecurities. A lot of it's because of what they've been labeled, and they accept the label. As being a
my
teacher,
family, they got me through that. It was my family that get me through that. They supported.
That's powerful, and having that support.
Yeah.
Having that support is key, because with this book, there's some information about, I didn't name names, but I'm very, very, very close to my family, but my family's been supportive through this process and me writing this book, and it means the world to me that they have been so supportive of my healing. Yes.
So you don't feel that you did it by yourself. You actually had a lot of help.
Yes, I had you. Yeah, I don't believe that, especially if you're like really close to your family, I think that would have been really hurtful. But I thought about it, when you're writing a book, and I'm sure this, happens with other individuals that write about things that happen to them, and they talk about their family. You don't know how they're going to respond. What might they say? How might they treat you? You don't know. But I felt so determined. Like this was a purpose. Like perhaps I've gone through these things. It's a bigger purpose behind it, and I have to kind of adhere to that. It's like when something's on your mind, if something's telling you to do something, and you kind of try to ignore it, but you just can't ignore it anymore. Mm-hmm. But I did think about that. But they have been extremely supportive and loving. And if anything, I feel like it's even made me closer to my family, because sometimes you don't know, you have your own personal feelings about if people can accept you through your healing and the healing process. And they've been there and very supportive of every step that, when I shared that I was writing this book and the things that I was going to be in it, they were very supportive and are continue to be supportive. Anybody else have any questions? If you want, I can read one more.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. This one is Dear Dreamer. I, as Carla said, I am so about inspiring people to be their greatest self. I did it in my classroom, or that's one of the main reasons I wanted to be a teacher, is because it's like, I just believe that, all the kids, everybody has greatness in them. And I want to be that type of teacher that really inspires children to, just be their greatest self, to be creative, to reach for the stars. And I know that, in our society, sometimes, that's not necessarily encouraged. It's like, be practical. How are you gonna pay them bills? Like, it's like you're 10 years old and you're like, I want to be a this. And they're like, no, be practical. It's like, you're 10. Can I dream? Goodness.
I wanted to work for the Forest Service, be a naturalist. I wanted to be a forest ranger.
And you would be the perfect forest ranger. Oh my goodness. You are so well versed in nature. You're a scientist. I could see you being a forest ranger. Absolutely.
As close as I got to my goal was ODNR, Ohio Department of Natural Resources. I was a naturalist at West Branch State Park. So I was able to wear the little ranger hat,
That's cool.
but we had that uniform, but as close as I got to my dream. And that I settled for, because I not settling, because that was doing what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. You were happy. And
Yeah,
I think
leading students to nature. Yeah,
that's right. I think that's fine. I think another thing about people having dreams, they're so afraid to have dreams because they feel like, well, what if they don't come true? What does that say about me? Am I a failure? They have all of that rhetoric going on in their head, and it's like, no, you changed your mind. It's okay,
but if you don't have a bucket list, if you don't have dreams, what do you have to look forward to, or what do you have to work for?
Mm-hmm.
You just float around,
paying bills. Like
Ooh.
my life is not just about paying bills, and that's
right.
what I wanted to promote to my students, and what I want to uplift people with, the idea that your life and your living and everything that you do is so much more than just being able to pay these bills. That your livelihood can be more than that. Wow. Like, you can actually get paid, pay your bills, and love what you do. What? Like, you can do that. So just opening up that idea to my students, we did a project called the Dream Project.
Oh.
And it was so awesome because I got to really get an opportunity to see what they wanted to do. I mean, I had one of my students wanted to be a culinary artist, and then we had people that want to own daycares. It like ran the gamut of so many things. That one of my students wanted to be an OBGYN. I mean, I had like 100 students at that time, so it was a lot of, but there were so many different things that they wanted to do.
And it wasn't just the traditional, I want to be a nurse.
Right.
Those days, yeah.
Yeah, and even if they wanted to be a singer or an actress, I wasn't like, oh, well, that's kind of unrealistic. We researched it. So you want to be an actress, that there are very deep skills that you have to learn to be an actress. Let's do some research about the schools that are the top schools for acting in the country, and what you would have to do to get in a school like that. Research who's your favorite actor. See what school they went to. Because a lot of times kids think, you just walk up and not realizing that these are skills that people learn. So that allowed them to really look at their dream and be like, okay, you can have your dream. It's nothing, you can dream big, but plan it.
Yeah,
plan it
be
out.
Realistic. You got to have a real plan.
Have a plan for it, because nobody's probably gonna just be knocking on your door like, we're looking for an actress. So yeah, this letter was to my dreamers. Dear dreamer, I know that it can be difficult to live among the norm, to hold something inside of you that you want to share with the world, and to have the world tell you through media, societal expectations, and normalcy that daring to dream is too risky, absurd, or downright insane. I beg to differ. What I found to be one of the most challenging things in my life was ignoring the calling inside of me to be what God intended me to be. One of my greatest fears was dying with all that God had put in me, still in me. The thought of my talents and my story being trapped inside, harnessed by fear, it scared me. It scared me because I knew that God had given me these abilities and this journey, not just for me, but to share. So the idea of being obedient to a God who has been so amazing in my life was a thought that I could not live with if I had not followed my dream. In fact, I know that a part of my mission is to inspire and encourage people to be their greatest self with no apologies and no regrets. So to you, dear dreamer, I say, go for it. You have done many things in life and not doubted for a second that you could do it. Why not live your dream? I have learned that living one's dream is so much more than fame and fortune. Living your dream gives you a joy and inner peace that no paycheck can replace. I know that if I die this very moment, I will have done what I was intended to do and touch people's hearts and souls by the grace of God. To me, that's priceless. There is no earthly reward comparable to knowing that I am walking by faith with God and trusting Him every step of the way, no matter what. I always have to tell people that I am not saying to write your resignation letter to your job and walk out the door today. However, I am saying that the same God that helped you raise your kids, graduate from college, get that very job, heal you, comfort you, and on is the same God that will help you live a fulfilled and purposeful life through living your dreams. I also know that everyone may not have a strong passion or desire for anything in particular. You may not have a dream per se, and that's okay. But I will ask you, what makes you happy? What would you do if you were a billionaire already? What makes you fulfilled and uplifted? Do more of that. Some of us do have this calling inside that gets muffled by responsibilities of everyday life. Dreamer, I declare you can be responsible and live a life of purpose and joy and peace. You are not sentenced to a monotonous life of working to pay the bills and maybe get a few vacation days along the way. Years of your life don't have to be swallowed whole by what society has decided is the average life. Dreamer, it's okay to dream and create your own version of freedom and joy. Although at times the doubt may seep into your mind, build walls of faith and hope around your soul. Create a barricade that can't be penetrated by the noise of naysayers and non-believers. Remember, you get to decide what success is for you and how your greatness and your greatest self will emerge. For in the end, when you close your eyes one last time, you will own the experiences called your life. Sincerely, Chanelle, a dreamer like you.
Very nice, very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think that was a lot to take to heart in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I think sometimes we need permission, you know. We need permission. And like I said, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm gonna sell my house and I'm moving to Los Angeles. You know, I think sometimes when we think of dreams, we think it has to be something of that nature or something. So it could be as big or as however you want it, but be happy and do the things in your life that you love to do and grow in the ways that you want to grow and have the experiences that you want to have. It's your life, you know. It's a precious, precious gift that I think we get so sucked into all these other things, we forget that it's just like our most precious gift and opportunity to do all these great things and to share and to love. And that's what I want to share with people, because, you know, it's not easy, but it's worth it. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Did anybody else have any questions or want to start? Because I could talk for 2 hours if y'all let me.
What's going to be your next book?
That was my question as well.
Next book?
You have another book in you.
I do. So my next book is actually going to be a children's book.
Oh, that's
and
exciting.
It's called How Agape.
Oh.
So as I mentioned to you all before, I was in a writing residency through 12 Literary Arts. 12 Literary Arts is a nonprofit in Greater Cleveland that supports Cleveland writers and writers around the country to develop their writing skills and to develop their work. So I have so many books in me, but this is going to be the next one. I do these motivational experiences that are on audio, like audio books type thing, I guess you would say, and I call them motivational experiences. And How Agape was a story that I wrote about a tribe. How Agape in Kiswahili means without fear. And this tribe basically has a way of raising their children. And it's a story, it's a bedtime story. And so I'm looking forward to publishing that book, because I believe that if we start young with giving our children ideas of greatness, you know, greatness over fear, exploring the things that they're awesome at. I think that a lot of times the kids know what they're not good at. Like, I'm not good at math and I'm not good, you know, but like, no, what brings you joy? Like, what if we spent like that much time on those things? Like, what brings you joy? What are you really good at? What would you do for free? Like those type of things, like really exploring, like, where is their brain? And, you know, what are those creative things inside their brain that they're can really do? But this children's book is like an opportunity for them to think about fear in a different way, and thinking about doing things from a place of courage. Maya Angelou said,
engine that could. The little engine that could, the white version of have courage, the little engine that could.
Yes.
I think I can. I can't.
Exactly. And then I know
we need an African. We need an African.
Yes, I know I can. Yes. So and I know with Maya Angelou, she says that courage is like the greatest virtue, because without courage, there are so many things, you know, that wouldn't ever be done if you didn't have courage. So this book is pretty much about fearlessness and courage. So I'm excited about that one. So hopefully that one will be out in 2021. And I want to do an animation with it. So I want the kids to be able to, you know, read it, but also have like an animation to go with it. So many things you can do now that you can do independently. And I'm grateful for that, because you can hire people like through Fiverr. I don't know if you all are familiar with that, but, you know, freelancers are available to help you. So I'm looking forward to that one. Another book that I'm going to be working on, and initially that was going to be the second book, is called There's an Elephant in My Classroom. And this one is about teacher wellness, because I honestly believe that, you know, teachers are amazing, educators are amazing, and we give so much, and especially during these times, we give even more, but who is helping us to take care of our wellness? And so I wanted to do a book, and I'm going to interview some teachers. I've already interviewed one, and it was really eye-opening what she said. She really talked about her past and how she was an amazing teacher. She got awards and everything. And then she left the classroom because she was burnt out. And teacher burnout is a serious epidemic, and we lose a lot of amazing teachers because of it. And which means that our students lose a lot of amazing teachers. They suffer the most. So that's my next book, probably after How Agape. I think How Agape is already written. I just need an illustrator. I can really kind of move forward with that one. This is going to be a project. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some time to interview all my teachers. And I really want to be a resource that people can use for in colleges, because our young teachers need to know how to deal with the challenges that they face. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Anybody else? I see a very familiar face in here. Hello. Yeah, so I think we're getting toward the end.
We are. I'm sure you'll share how we can purchase your book.
Okay. So before I leave, I just want to thank you all, everybody that's here and everybody that's going to watch. I just want to leave you with a knowing that your healing is possible. It may not be easy, but it's possible. And writing is a research-based way that you can actually begin your healing process. I'm not saying that that's the only thing that you need to help you through your healing process. As I mentioned before, that I saw a therapist to really delve out some things that were going on with me. And I think that was one of the best things I ever did for myself in my life. And, but writing, the pages are not going to judge you. The pages keep your secrets. The pages don't cut you off like, girl, let me tell you, I went through the same thing, So writing is a profound tool to begin your healing. And so Letters from a Healing Heart is my letters, but most of it is a journal, so that you got an opportunity to see me model that type of writing, and then you can write some letters of your own. And the book is available on my website, which is professional-inspiration.com. Or you can order from Amazon, which for some may be easier because they maybe have Prime and it comes really, really fast. And that's fine too. For me, I just want to spread the message of healing so that you can move forward in your life and be your greatest self.
Thank you, Chanelle. And thank you so much for those of you who've joined us today. I really appreciate what you've shared, Chanelle. I think there's a lot that anyone can learn from what you've said.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we really
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having me. I appreciate it.